As the price of petrol goes through the roof, you're looking at the future of motoring, the electric car.
It's your own fuel station, isn't it, really?
It's my own fueling station. Very convenient.
At least that's what electric car evangelist Linda Nichols believes.
You want to go for a ride in my EV?
Yes, please. So where are we going to go?
I'm not sure. We'll just go where the road takes us.
Okay. We're running, are we?
Yes.
We're running?
Yes, we're
It's
running.
very quiet, isn't it?
Yes.
Linda bought her all-electric Toyota RAV4 a decade ago. California wanted to reduce smog and forced its car companies to produce zero-emission vehicles.
One of the things I think I enjoy most is the quiet, no-vibration, peaceful ride. I feel very empowered by driving this car. I'm no longer a gasoline junkie.
Linda says her car is a dream come true. When she gets home, she simply plugs it in and recharges the batteries. In a few hours, she'll have enough power to drive about 150 kilometres.
And that's it?
That's it?
Her total electricity bill for the house and 2 electric cars is an astonishing $2 a month. That's because she's covered her roof in solar panels. They generate so much electricity, she sells power back to the grid when she's not plugged in. She says that if she charged her car directly from the grid, it would still only cost the equivalent of 20 cents per litre of petrol.
The beauty of electricity, it's cleaner, it's cheaper, and this is very important, it's domestically produced. And no war has ever been fought for electricity, and even more particularly, no war has ever been fought for solar, and it never will be.
This is a free solar-powered public charging station in Los Angeles. One of a network of stations developed in the 90s to support electric vehicles.
This is one of those electric chargers.
Right.
In fact, basically just push a button in the car and it opens up the charging port right here.
Chris Payne is another electric car enthusiast, but his is the only electric car there. The rest are conventional cars using it as a parking station.
And that's it?
That's it. We used to joke that it only takes 3 seconds to charge an electric car. But I'll want to leave this here for 45 minutes at least to like get a good pop.
If you think all this sounds too good to be true, then you're right. Chris Payne is a documentary maker, and his latest feature is Who Killed the Electric Car?
In 1996, electric cars began to appear on roads all over California. They were quiet and fast, produced no exhaust, and ran without gasoline.
It tells the incredible story of how, after rising to the challenge of producing electric cars in the 90s, California makers dumped the idea soon after.
Keeping America competitive requires affordable energy. And here we have a serious problem. America is addicted to oil.
It's only this year that the American government has realised that driving around in gas-guzzling tanks that depend on foreign oil is not the smartest energy policy.
An electric car says we can use our own energy to power our cars. We don't need to go defend oil in the Middle East. So the fact that the electric car was killed at this moment in history is sort of a double crime.
The star of the film is the EV1, an all-electric two-seater, put on the market by General Motors in 1996. It was futuristic, fast and by all accounts adored by all who drove it.
Believe it or not, that sucker goes. That thing will take you down the PCH so fast you could get a ticket.
I did kind of feel like Batman, you know, that sort of like, whee, and the way it takes off out of the cave. You know, I have this gate that opens and it goes.
The EV1 in particular was really special just because it was really cool and fast and fun to drive. And one of the things that GM did so right when they set out to make that car was to absolutely shatter the golf cart myth when it comes to electric cars. So you had this cute...
Chelsea Sexton was part of the General Motors sales team for the EV1. She's now an activist in a campaign to promote electric cars. According to her, General Motors abandoned the EV1 because it threatened the big players in the industry.
You know, what GM didn't count on was those cars being so good they would absolutely challenge the status quo of the auto industry, of the oil industry.
Chris Payne's documentary says that General Motors never really believed in the EV1 and didn't promote its clean, green advantages. In effect, it murdered its own baby.
We made every effort to make a business out of the EV1. We don't spend in excess of $1 billion to set a vehicle up for failure.
Dave Barthmuss is manager of public relations at General Motors and says that far from a conspiracy to kill off the electric car, there was simply no mass market for it.
You could only go roughly 100 miles or so before you had to recharge it, and then it took roughly 4 to 8 hours to recharge the vehicle. And for something like that to work for a mass market, you really had to adapt your lifestyle to meet the needs of the vehicle versus a vehicle that's going to meet your needs.
But according to Chelsea Sexton, General Motors was just not committed to making the electric car a success.
In my experience, to sell a car with an ad, you need to show a picture of the car in the ad, tell people where to go to see it, you know, some little facts about the car, that sort of thing helps when you're trying to sell a product. And that stuff was just gone from the advertising. So, yeah, certainly we got indications along the way that they weren't as sincere about this as they'd have people believe.
In the film, people who were working for GM even said that they felt after a year or so that the heart wasn't in GM to continue on with this. They felt it. They weren't getting the support. They weren't getting the advertising or the marketing of it. It was as if you were forced into by the government to do this.
Well, I tell you, there are a lot of emotions within General Motors about the EV1, certainly. It was not an easy decision for us to come to end production and marketing. It was not easy for us to spend well over $1 billion and not recoup our investment. It wasn't easy for us to develop award-winning advertising, set up a unique sales and service force, to have a vehicle that ultimately only generated 800 leases. So in essence, we did everything that we could to grow the market in California, no matter how disappointed and angry some people are over our decision to end production and marketing. There are simply two sides to every story.
Documentary maker Chris Payne concedes that the number of miles in a battery charge was a problem for the EV1 sales.
And a lot of consumers said, no, I don't want a car that only goes 100 miles on a charge. I need something that goes 300 miles on a charge. I have a long way to drive. Well, it turns out that most people, especially commuters, but the national average in the States is even everybody, the average miles that you drive a day is 30. So a car that can go 60 miles or 100 miles a day really can work as a perfect second car. In my case, it became like the primary car, very fast. And then you have that gas car for those rare times you really do need the range.
While new and better batteries are in the pipeline, GM says there's still a long way to go.
I have not seen an auto company come out with a battery program that has a vehicle that will have the kind of range and quick charge that's needed to appeal to a mass market at a price point where the common man and woman can afford it on a monthly basis.
Electric car enthusiasts scoff at the affordability arguments. They point out that at the same time the EV1 was dropped, GM was busy promoting the most expensive and biggest gas guzzler of them all, the Hummer.
I know that there are charges made that we kill the electric vehicle program in order to create the Hummer or be able to afford and pursue the Hummer program. Again, There is no conspiracy to cut off the electric vehicle because we wanted to pursue heavier and larger vehicles. People did not demand the EV1 from GM in large enough numbers for us to pursue it.
The Hummer was the ultimate SUV. And in fact, when it came out, you could get up to a $100,000 tax deduction if you were a small business owner for owning one. So the government gave a message to people. The message was, buy these huge monstrosities. Meanwhile, the electric car, when they were on the road, the maximum tax credit you could get was $4,000. So this is how government shapes the future. And unfortunately, the American government was pushing Hummers, and no wonder in some ways the car companies walked away from EVs and concentrated on these Hummers.
For the electric car activists like Linda Nichols, the battle is not over, even though the dream of the EV1 has been lost. The final nail in the coffin came in 2004, when GM trucked away the last of the EV1s to be crushed. Linda and other activists managed to save their cars from the shredder.
This picture was taken in Arizona at GM's Proving Grounds. What you see here is the crusher actively involved in flattening these beautiful little EV1s that are stacked up like so many cords of wood, flattened into useless Coke cans and shredded into a million pieces. These EV1 cars represented a reality that was working and that can work again and needs to work again and will work again. These cars are not dead. Electric cars are just temporarily unavailable. The dream is still alive.
Why did you then recall all the cars and crush them?
Yep.
Why did you do this?
Well, first, know that we did not recall the vehicles early. Everybody signed a 3-year lease agreement and agreed to what was going to happen at the end of the 3 years as far as turning the vehicle back into General Motors. Yes, the other half of the coin is those vehicles were then sent to the recycler. Now, part of the recycling process involves crushing the stripped body so that it can be shredded and all the various metals could be separated for recycling use. Now, the reason that we did not want to leave the vehicle in the hands of owners after the lease expiration is because we did not have a significant amount of parts to keep the vehicles running safe. There are 2,000...
So you made up your mind at this stage you weren't going to make a spare parts division for that car?
We simply did not have enough parts to keep those vehicles on the road going in a safe manner. We felt it wasn't it was not the right thing to do to allow a vehicle to be left in someone's hands that we didn't have the confidence we needed to know that it would be operated in a safe manner.
The idea of a car maker producing a new model without spare parts sounds almost as implausible as the policy that allowed new cars to be destroyed. In Chris Payne's documentary, a reporter happened across some Honda electric cars just as they were about to be shredded.
And what's interesting, the first thing we noticed when we drove up here, you're going to be shredding some new cars here too. These look like perfectly good cars. Why are you shredding them up?
A little bit of a mystery, really, since I've been here the last 8 years. They bring us these cars from the dealerships, and they say that they're test cars, and they've been brought over to test various emissions, and the insurance companies won't reinsure them, so they have to watch them destroyed here.
Boy, that seems like a shame.
It's terrible.
I'd like to drive off in one of these things. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the sound of a crushed automobile being shredded into a million pieces.
Vehicle. This car is huge. It is very tight.
So you just moved to the right environmentally correct.
The death of the electric car has left the market to enthusiasts like John Wayland.
So, you know, it's why burn gasoline when you can run on American electrons?
Exactly. No petrol since 1980.
He and his friends have converted their old petrol cars to electric power.
All batteries. The whole car is batteries, Sharon. Did you hear him turn it on? It's silent.
What's wrong with that car over there?
It's got a gasoline engine.
She can't
that won't start.
This is cute. It is. And these are all the batteries?
And the whole front end stuck with them too.
Oh, come on, you're on film.
What do you think?
I think it's pretty cool.
Have you seen one before?
No. No, I have not. Not full electric. And I love the way he's got it in an old Datsun.
Did you know that the GM and the big companies were going to make them at one stage, then stop making them?
No, I didn't. But you know, if they make these, then that puts a whole bunch of millionaires out of business, doesn't it?
Drive it.
So what do you think of it?
I like it. It's neat. That's me. I know. Give me that car.
What's going on here today?
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electric cars on charge right now.
Good.
All at the same time. This is the Wayland EV juice bar.
Right.
You know, this is where you come to suck amps.
Yeah, right.
This is Suck Amp Central. And if you're looking here right now, this is the mighty Zilla Z2K.
What's that do?
That is the motor controller that divides the amperage from the batteries to the motor. In other words, it's a speed controller. It's like a giant light dimmer, only this one happens to be a 600,000 watt dimmer, 0.6 megawatts.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of juice.
This is the Zombie.
This is the White Zombie. This happens to be the world's quickest street legal electric door slammer. If you notice, it too has a Zilla controller, a mighty Z2K. Came from the factory with 69 horsepower and about 70 foot-pounds of torque. It now has about 300 horsepower and 772 foot-pounds of torque. Because it has so much torque, we don't need a transmission. Electric motors have full torque at 0 RPM, and they have an abundant amount of torque.
So what do you do here with your electric cars? You've been involved with them for 25 years. You've got your friends around here today, tuning them up for a bit of racing tonight. What's behind all that?
Well, first of all, we don't want to wait for Detroit or Toyota or Nissan. We're not going to wait. We convert our own cars in our backyard. It's not that hard. As long as you can turn a wrench, know a little bit about electricity, you take out all that pollution belching stuff out, you put in electric motor or motor controller, charger, a little bit of hard work, and you got yourself an electric car. It's not that hard to do. So what we're doing today, though, is that we've turned into, we call ourselves evangelists with a capital EV. We like to show the general public that the electric car isn't dead. Every time we hear these negative spins going on, we hear news reports that are inaccurate, we like to show people, well, I'm sorry, you're being misinformed.
John Wayland and his mates are obsessed by the same passions as other car nuts, power and speed. Tonight, they're off to that mecca of revheads, the drag racing track.
This car will be racing tonight. It runs a very quick 12.1 seconds in the quarter mile, and generally jerks the tires off the ground and keeps them up in the air for about 50 feet on launch.
All on electricity?
All on electricity, man. It's the amps, you know. We've got the amps. Jim Armstrong and the Lightning in the right lane.
John's little white Datsun, with a mighty Zilla power converter under the bonnet, is about to show a petrol car a thing or two.
And Brad running our favorite electric car, the right lane. Crazy out there running.
The EV enthusiasts have obviously solved the power problem. They also say they now have a battery that will last between 400 and 500 kilometres without a charge. But is anybody in Detroit or Washington DC really listening?